What's going on, Steelers Nation? This is a Black and Gold report. Before we get started, please hit that subscribe button down below and the like button. That will greatly help this channel in so many ways, and I do appreciate you guys for that. On today's show, we're going to be talking about week 1 of Steelers training camp, what I saw, some news and notes, what I want to see Monday as the pads come on, so on and so forth. Week 1 of Steelers training camp is in the books. They have today off. They will start back tomorrow. I believe practice starts at 11:20 tomorrow morning. It is the first day of pads, which we should start to see a lot more of where we are as a team going into this season, starting this week. And I know there's no live tackling, but there will be contact allowed, just for a simple fact of they have pads on now. But my take on this week, starting with an injury perspective, Darnell Savage has not been seen the last 2 days. There's not been any clarity on what is going on, but with the recent signings at safety, it makes you think that we may be dealing with some sort of a nagging injury or an injury that's going to put him out for a little bit of time. And on top of Jalen Ramsey being out and, Joey Porter Jr., that's the concern that I have, is what's going on with Darnell Savage. We don't need another injury in that position group, and hopefully it's nothing too long term. But I'll keep an ear out and an eye out for any news on Darnell Savage. Another thing that I've seen is Rico Dowdle getting more of the 1 reps at running back than Jaylen Warren. I'm anxious to see if that continues. I mean, I think both guys are phenomenal. I think both guys could really be beneficial to the Steelers as a whole on offense. We're going to see a lot more this coming week with the pads on of the physicality, which one has more physicality, which one has more comfortability with the system. What I want to see is, we've seen Jaylen Warren out of the backfield being able to catch passes, and I want to see, Rico Dowdle, his versatility with that. And I'm sure he can, but I just want to see that versatility. Brandon Smith is another one that just tore it up this week and had a lot of 1 reps with the first team. And it makes you think, if we get to, as the weeks go by and he keeps stacking these weeks like he had this week, the Steelers have a decision to make, because, if he's making plays and he's being productive, are you going to not take him over somebody who is less productive? And I know there's a lot of variables with all of that, but we're going to see, because he's making a strong case for that. And it was just play after play after play that he was making. And I know he had a couple of drops and his footwork's not the best, but he's been making plays with A-Rod, with the other quarterbacks over and over and over, more plays than he's not making. And, that's good for him, and I'm pulling for him, and I hope that he continues to stack these weeks. I think the O-line, I'm anxious to see both lines of scrimmage now that pads come on this week. They had a good week. I'm glad to see that we're using Pat Freiermuth over the middle more in this training camp. That's what I've been preaching the past few years, is we're not using the tight end over the middle as much as we need to. And, we have a 3-headed monster there with Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and Robert Tonyan. And I might add, Robert Tonyan has played with A-Rod for years in Green Bay, which is huge when you're talking about camaraderie and being in sync and on the same page. He kind of knows already what A-Rod's looking for, what he wants you to do in the passing game, how he wants you to run your routes, so on and so forth. I could go on for days, but him coming in here and already knowing that information is key and vital, where he can hit the ground running, and I feel very comfortable about that. you know, TJ Watt and a lot of the defensive guys being moved around to different sides and, you know, positions and all of that, it's just going to make the Steelers defense that much better. Teams can't just scheme and prepare for TJ or whoever it is to be on one side the whole time and not move. Now he's here one time, he's on this side the next, he's you know, so on and so forth. Whoever it may be, I feel like that is only going to be beneficial to this Pittsburgh Steelers defense and how elite that they can be. And I feel like they can get to that elite status with some of the best defenses in the league. We're built on that. We've always been known for the defense. You know, everybody knows Steel Curtain, all that kind of stuff. So we just need to build on that and keep that standard. And, you know, another thing was, and I've mentioned this in my wide receiver room preview, having DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr., having that solid number 2 receiver that could be a number 1 in some places is so key, because, and it's showing up in training camp already. You can't just play over the top of DK and leave him one-on-one because he'll expose you. Talking about Michael Pittman, you can't just play over him because DK is going to expose you, along with the other receivers like a Roman Wilson, Brandon Smith, all that you add in the mix. That is going to be huge for this offense because of the bind that it puts on a secondary, having to play with coverages and choosing when you go man and all that, because you have so many weapons. You know, linebackers looked really good during this week. We're going to see a lot more from them too now that, you know, pads come on. And, you know, Patrick Queen's doing his thing, Nick Herbig, Alex Highsmith, the list goes on. One player that I really wanted to get to, though, is in this secondary is Asante Samuel Jr. He has made so many plays that I can't even count in the first few days of camp that, you know, it's just night and day. Like, from last year and where he's been before, like, you can see the steps that he's taken as far as growth and development. He has made, I mean, it's almost like he's in on every play. Like, he's just, every time you see a play being made, he's involved in it somehow. That's what it's felt like this week with Asante Samuel Jr. And I'm really looking forward to when the pads come on and we get a little bit more physical in the pass game, how that looks. But I'm very encouraged with how he's looked so far as well. And the last thing I want to get to in this video is the way Mike McCarthy has ran this camp so far and the differences that it's been compared to the Mike Tomlin training camps. You know, I know y'all have heard this in other people's videos. You know, All Steelers Talk talks about it. Numerous other YouTubers talk about it. Like, I know there's the no tackling aspect, but I feel like at this point, the tackling fundamentals are there. I feel like we as a team, you know, need to prioritize health, trying to get to week 1 and get your stars to week 1 healthy. You don't want to lose players to injury before we even get to the season. Like, and I understand that. And Coach McCarthy's talked about it. Like, he's done tackling before, and, you know, it's a risk-reward type of deal, but you also you can lose players to injury before we even get to the season, and the amount of money that is invested in these players, you need them on the field. That's just the bottom line. But to me, like, if you're in the NFL, you know how to tackle, especially if you're on defense. And, you know, I think they prioritize the fundamentals and the drill work for tackling, that when they can tackle in games, that they're going to have that fundamental background and fundamental basics, that it's not going to hurt them as bad as people think. And I know Steelers are built on toughness, grit, and we've tackled before with Mike Tomlin, and the old timers, as they say, would are probably frowning that there's no tackling, but I'm not as concerned about it just because, I feel like these guys know how to tackle. They have the fundamental background and the fundamental basics of tackling. It's not going to affect them that much, I don't think, in my opinion. But in all seriousness, I do think the Steelers had a successful week 1 of training camp. I'm so looking forward with off day today. I'm so looking forward to Monday and this week with the pads come on, seeing what they look like physicality-wise. The progress of more team being implemented into practice, and I think you'll get more and more of that as the season gets closer and as the weeks go by, getting closer to the regular season as these preseason games start and we start tackling games. I think the team aspect and the team periods are going to show up more. And I do like the fact that, Coach McCarthy has scheduled these practices to be no downtime, rep after rep after rep. There's no resting. He's taking the benches out off the fields. Like you're not sitting down. You're moving from one thing to the other, and attention to detail that is going to be beneficial when you have that much of attention to detail. It's nothing but beneficial when you get to games in the regular season that, no stone's going to go unturned. And I am very encouraged by that. And I look forward to this week coming up and seeing the pads come on and the Steelers getting it rolling. But that's going to do it for today's show, and I will be with you guys next week. I'm going to release a few videos next week, and then after next week's group of practices, I'm going to release a week 2 review of training camp week 2, just like I'm doing now. And I'm going to do that for the continuation of training camp. And then once we get back to our facility, I'm going to continue to do it until regular season, and then we'll transition into, game by game reviews and previews. But I do appreciate you guys' support. Please, again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Hit that like button. Share it with your friends. All of Steelers Nation. I'm behind you, and I greatly appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next one. Here we go.